So I got in the shower and I was washing my hair and I hear, oh, and I'm thinking, my God, I'm hearing Elvis Presley in the shower.
At 84, Tom Jones is still making headlines not for a new album or tour, but for something far more unexpected. Recently, this legendary Welsh singer revealed the names of 6 musicians he truly couldn't stand throughout his long career. Known for his charm and powerful voice, Tom rarely spoke about his dislikes, which makes this revelation all the more shocking. Fans are stunned, and the music world is buzzing. Who are these 6 artists? And what exactly did they do to earn his hatred? Join us as we uncover the names and the stories behind them, the golden voice and the growing grudges. For over 6 decades, Tom Jones has stood as one of the most powerful voices in the music world. From the moment he released It's Not Unusual in 1965, everything changed for him. He wasn't just a singer with a good voice. He had presence, charisma, and a kind of emotional intelligence that helped him read people and win crowds. But in the middle of all this success, there were also challenges, especially with other musicians. While many admired him, not everyone got along with him. Over time, some of those relationships turned cold. Some even turned hostile. Tom Jones didn't always talk about these issues, but whenever he did, he spoke clearly. He didn't try to stir up drama, but he also didn't hold back. There were moments when tensions became public and friendships were broken, and some of them never healed. Keep watching to find out who made the list and why some of these names still matter in Tom's life today. The first and most well-known name that Tom has had a fallout with is Engelbert Humperdinck. Both of them were rising stars in the 1960s. They sang love songs, wore sharp suits, and had huge fan bases that followed them everywhere they went. They also shared the same manager. His name was Gordon Mills, and he helped shape both of their careers. That should have brought them closer, but instead it led to more competition and more pressure. When they first met, things were polite. Engelbert was still using his birth name, Arnold Dorsey, and he was just starting to make a name for himself. Tom had already found success with his songs like It's Not Unusual. So, when Engelbert changed his name and started dressing flashier, people quickly compared him to Tom. And Tom didn't like that. He felt that Engelbert was trying too hard to copy his image and ride his wave of fame. From the beginning, Tom sensed that Engelbert wanted to act like they were on the same level. But in Tom's eyes, they were not. He had already broken into the American market and performed with the biggest names. Engelbert was still catching up. That created a quiet tension between them, and it only grew worse with time. One moment that changed everything happened in 1979. At the time, Tom was dating a woman named Charlotte Laws, and according to several sources, Engelbert flirted with her at a public event. Tom saw that as a clear sign of disrespect. It wasn't just a small mistake, it was personal. Tom never forgot that, and it left a scar that stayed for decades. Years later, when Tom was asked about Engelbert, he didn't hold back. He said, "Once a jerk, always a jerk." That sentence shocked many people because it was harsh and unfiltered, but it also showed how deeply Tom still felt about what had happened. However, over the years, Engelbert tried to make peace. He said in interviews that he would love to reconnect and even perform with Tom on the same stage. But Tom didn't want that. When fans asked why they never sang together, Tom gave clear answers. He said he didn't like Engelbert's attitude, and that was all he needed to stay away. Even in recent years, the tension has not gone away. In 2024, the feud made headlines again when Engelbert claimed that Tom had lost his voice. Tom responded right away, calling Engelbert a prick. And those weren't words said as a joke. They came from a place of real hurt. It showed that, even after all this time, the wound was still there. What made it even more uncomfortable was that both men kept performing at similar venues. There were times when event organizers wanted to feature both of them at the same concert. But as soon as one saw the other's name, they would pull out. That tension didn't just stay between the two of them. It spread to their teams, their staff, and even their fans. Some people believed that if they had ever joined forces, they could have done something powerful and special. But ego and past pain got in the way. And when you carry that kind of history for years, it doesn't just disappear. It stays with you, and sometimes it grows even stronger. Now let's move on to another famous name. This one may surprise you. It's Elvis Presley. Most people believe that Tom and Elvis were great friends, and that is mostly true. But there was a time when things got a little tense between them. They first met in the mid-1960s, not long after Tom became famous. Tom had just released It's Not Unusual, and the song was a hit. He was invited to perform on American shows, and that's when he caught Elvis's attention. Elvis was already a legend by then, and he wanted to meet this new singer who had such a strong voice and such natural charm on stage. So they met through a music producer who thought they'd get along, and they did. At first, they hit it off quickly. They both loved music, and they both had deep voices, flashy styles, and a love for performing. Elvis liked that Tom was different from other singers, and Tom respected Elvis from the start. They started hanging out in private, and they would sometimes sing together just for fun. When they were in Las Vegas, they would meet backstage, and sometimes they would even stay up all night just talking about music. Tom once said that Elvis was full of energy and that he made everyone around him feel excited, even when there wasn't a show. So in the beginning, their friendship was strong and they shared a lot of laughter. But then, something changed. By the late 1960s, Tom's career was rising fast in America. Fans loved his bold stage moves and his powerful voice. Some people began to compare him to Elvis, and some even said that Tom might be the new king of rock and roll. Elvis had held that title for years, and now it felt like someone else was taking the spotlight. People close to Elvis, including Priscilla Presley, said he became a little jealous. There were even stories that he started copying Tom's style, like wearing tight pants and moving more like Tom on stage. But Tom didn't let that bother him, because he still saw Elvis as the best performer he had ever watched. Still, the tension between them grew, and many believe it wasn't just about fame or stage presence. It was something deeper. They were too similar. They both used simple words when they spoke, and they both had the same steady tone when they performed. Their voices were strong and smooth, and they didn't try to sound fancy or complex. They just spoke the way they felt. And because of that, they often sounded like each other. When they were in the same room, it was like hearing two versions of the same person. That made it hard sometimes, because when you see yourself in someone else, it can feel like a challenge, even when it's not meant to be. Neither one of them liked to be outshined. And since they talked in the same way, stood in the same way, and even joked in the same way, it made small misunderstandings feel bigger than they were. But it never turned into hate. They were both too proud to say it out loud, but they still had a deep respect for one another. Thankfully, they worked things out. The tension passed, and they became close again. They would sing together behind closed doors, and they would often laugh like nothing had ever gone wrong. Tom later spoke about how Elvis struggled with the pressures of fame. He said Elvis had too many people around him who only said what he wanted to hear. Tom didn't want that for himself. He made sure to keep people near him who would be honest, even when the truth was hard to hear. Watching Elvis go through that made Tom more careful about who he trusted. That experience stayed with him, and it changed the way he looked at other artists too, especially the ones who acted like they were better than everyone else. Because Tom had seen what happened to even the biggest stars, and he didn't want to lose himself in the same way. Stay tuned as we delve more into this, because the drama between Tom and other artists is far from over. Stage lights and dark shadows. After the little fallout Tom had with Elvis, Tom Jones had seen what fame could do to people. He became more careful. He realized that when someone reaches the top, it doesn't always bring peace. It can bring pressure, jealousy, and sometimes even enemies. And in the world of music, where big personalities often compete for the same spotlight, friendships can break just as fast as they begin. This became even clearer in the years that followed. As Tom's fame continued to grow, he found himself in the middle of an industry that was changing fast. From the late 1960s to the 1980s, music was going through big changes. There was rock, soul, blues, and many other styles. Every artist wanted to stand out. Everyone wanted to prove they were the most talented or the most original. This made the music industry very competitive. And sometimes, this competition turned into rivalry. Tom Jones experienced this, especially when he worked with people like Janis Joplin and Van Morrison. Janis Joplin was one of the biggest female rock singers at that time. Her voice was raw and powerful, and her style was wild and full of emotion. She was different from Tom, who had a strong voice too, but was more polished and often seen as more traditional or showbiz. In December 1969, Janis appeared on Tom's TV show, This Is Tom Jones. It was a big deal because Janis didn't usually like doing variety shows. But she agreed to be on Tom's show, and they performed a duet together. They sang the song, Raise Your Hand, and the performance was full of energy. Janis sang with passion, and Tom matched her power with his own voice. It was a moment that many fans still remember today. But behind the scenes, things were a little more complicated. Janis didn't like the way the stage was set up. She didn't like the fake raindrops and decorations, and she said it didn't feel real. She even told Tom that she couldn't sing her song in that kind of setting. She said, "I can't walk through plastic raindrops singing this song." So, she asked if the stage could be changed to match the mood of the music, and the crew listened to her. Tom later talked about this experience. He said that Janis was very serious about her music, and she didn't want anything fake around her when she performed. Even though she had a strong personality, Tom said he respected her a lot. He also remembered that after their performance, Janis looked at him and said, "Wow, you really sing." For Tom, that meant a lot, because Janis was not the kind of person who gave compliments easily. Still, there were some artists who looked at Tom as too commercial. They felt that he was more about entertainment than about deep or meaningful music. Janis never said that to Tom directly, but during that time, there were rumors that she and others like her didn't fully respect his style. Tom later admitted that some artists in that period didn't understand how versatile he was. He could sing pop, rock, soul, and gospel, and he worked very hard at it. But some people only saw the shiny suits and the TV shows, and they thought he wasn't serious. This hurt Tom, because he had grown up singing gospel and blues in Wales, and music was always very real to him. Another important name in Tom's life was Van Morrison. Van was also from a nearby part of the world. He was born in Northern Ireland, and he and Tom shared a deep love for soul and blues music, but their personalities were very different. Tom was outgoing. He liked to talk, joke, and connect with people. Van Morrison was the opposite. He was quiet, and many people saw him as serious and even cold. He didn't like fame, and he didn't enjoy being in the spotlight. In the early 1990s, Van and Tom worked together on a music project. Van wrote and produced several songs for Tom's album Carrying a Torch, including the title track. This was a big moment, because it showed how two very different artists could come together. Van didn't usually do collaborations like this, but he seemed to respect Tom's voice. He even played on the songs himself, and he made sure the music had the sound he wanted. One of the songs they worked on, Carrying a Torch, became a single. It reached number 57 on the UK charts. The album was not a huge hit, but it was important for Tom because it allowed him to show a deeper, more soulful side of himself. He didn't just want to sing pop songs. He wanted to sing songs that told a story and had meaning. And Van helped him do that. Even though they worked well in the studio, their friendship outside the studio wasn't very close. Tom Jones once shared that Van Morrison was not an easy person to talk to. He said Van liked to do things his own way and didn't always enjoy working with others. At one point, they even talked about doing a duet together, but Van backed out. He changed his mind, and the duet never happened. Tom didn't get angry about it, but he was disappointed because he felt that when they did work together, the music was strong and real. This kind of story happened more than once in Tom's career. Many times he wanted to work with other artists, but their styles or personalities got in the way. Some didn't like how popular he was. Others didn't want to be seen on a TV show. Some thought his music was too polished. But Tom believed that music was about heart and voice. And even if he wore shiny clothes or sang on television, he still brought everything he had into each song. Now here's the part that might surprise you, so stay tuned. Always holding his ground. Tom Jones had made it clear over the years that he didn't just sing with power, he also stood his ground. As he moved through the changing world of music, he met many artists, some who inspired him and others who rubbed him the wrong way. And when someone crossed a line, Tom didn't just stay silent. He had a strong voice both on and off the stage. One moment that showed this clearly was a comment he made about Sir Rod Stewart. While the two were often seen as rivals on the charts, they had mostly stayed respectful throughout their careers. But in 2015, Tom shared a moment that bothered him. During an interview with The Big Issue, Tom talked about something Rod had said at a concert in Los Angeles. During the show, Rod reportedly told the audience that he came from nothing. This didn't sit right with Tom. He later explained in an interview that he felt Rod had a different background and didn't grow up in complete poverty. Tom had seen a documentary about Rod's life and remembered seeing his parents, who seemed like hard-working people. So when he heard Rod making it sound like he came from nothing, Tom felt that wasn't the full truth. Tom wasn't trying to tear Rod down. Instead, he seemed to be calling for honesty. For Tom, stories mattered, especially when shared with fans. If you were going to talk about where you came from, you had to respect the truth. He had always spoken proudly about his working-class background in Pontypridd, Wales. His father worked in the mines, and his family had supported him from the start. Tom believed in honoring that kind of support rather than rewriting it for drama. So when someone as big as Rod Stewart made a different kind of claim, Tom felt the need to speak up. However, this wasn't the only time Tom felt the need to speak out. Another strong moment came when he talked about John Lennon. Many people remember Lennon as a peace-loving musician, someone who wrote songs like Imagine and called for an end to war. But when Tom first met him, the meeting wasn't peaceful at all. It was actually very tense. It happened in the mid-1960s on a British TV show called Thank Your Lucky Stars. Tom had just released his first big hit, It's Not Unusual, and he was starting to make a name for himself. He went to the show early and decided to watch the Beatles rehearse. That's when John Lennon walked up with his guitar, looked at Tom, and made a joke. According to Tom, Lennon made a silly play on words by saying it wasn't a unicorn, it was an elephant. But then he followed it up with something else. Tom recalled that Lennon looked at him and made a rude comment that touched on his Welsh background in a disrespectful way. This made Tom very angry. And he responded by challenging Lennon and making it clear he wouldn't tolerate being spoken to like that. He later explained in an interview with Channel B that he was ready to fight Lennon right there. Tom didn't like being insulted, especially in a way that felt personal and rude. But he also explained later that Lennon probably meant it as a joke. Tom said it was just John's sense of humor, and over time, they became friends. Even though the first meeting was rough, Tom didn't hold a grudge forever. He was willing to move on if respect was restored. Still, this moment stayed with him. It showed how the music world wasn't always friendly. Fame didn't always bring people closer. Sometimes it created tension. Tom had grown up with values that focused on respect and honesty, and when those were missing, he noticed. These stories also showed something else about Tom. He didn't let people walk over him. Whether it was someone joking in poor taste or someone telling a false story to a crowd, Tom believed in setting the record straight. And even though he could be tough, he was also fair. He didn't go looking for fights, but he also didn't back away when things got uncomfortable. That's one reason fans have continued to admire him. His voice may have made him famous, but his strength of character helped him stay strong in a difficult industry. He wasn't afraid to speak his mind, even if the other person was as famous as Rod Stewart or John Lennon. He believed that the truth mattered, and he stood by it. So, do you think Tom Jones was right to call out artists, or should he have just let it go? And out of all the artists mentioned so far, which clash or friendship do you think shaped his path the most? Drop it in the comment section below. If you enjoyed watching this video, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more. Also, click the next video shown on your screen. You will enjoy it.